Hey y'all, I'm James Wright and welcome to my shop. What exactly is a combination plane and what's the difference between all of them? Let's dive in. Combination tools were all the rage after the Civil War, and you see a lot of tools having other things added to them. But Stanley came out with the Stanley number 45. The 45 may look a lot like a plow plane, and plow planes have been around for a long time. And in general, it is basically the same thing. You have an iron that can get swapped in and out for different sizes. It has a fence on the side so you can put different depths in there. It can do rabbets, but this can also do beads and other complex cutting. Just like a plow plane, it can do plowing grooves, but it can also do beads. It can do tongue and groove. It can even do window molding, but that's not quite enough. The 45 could do rabbets with a straight iron, and it works fairly well. But when doing rabbets, a lot of people love the skewed iron. It pulls it up against the shoulder and gives you a nice clean cut. So Stanley said, let's make a 45 that can do skewed irons, which turned out to be the 46. Now, I don't have any cutters for this one yet. I bought this body a while ago and it's missing a few things. But one of these days I'll get it and demonstrate that a little bit more. But it's basically a 45 with a skewed iron. Next up, they said, these are nice and all, but a lot of people complain that they're a little fiddly. They have lots of knobs and buttons and things to turn, and they're just, well, they're kind of overwhelming. What if we made them a little bit simpler? And thus was born the Stanley 50. Now, this is basically the exact same thing as the 45. It's just a lot simpler. The skates are only on the outside, so you're limited in a few, but it'll do 90% of what the 45 can do. It's just far simpler with very few knobs, and it works really well. And because it's simpler, it's far more affordable. And even today, you can pick up one of these for about half the price of a 45. So if you're looking for doing plowing and beading and things like that, getting a 50 is great. But the one problem with the 45 and all of the others is that they really can't do complex things. They can't do hollows and rounds. And then Stanley said, well, what if we made a bed for them, a sole that was the exact hollow and round, and they came with a set of cutters to match the hollow and round. And so thus was born the 45 hollows and round set. Unfortunately, these didn't sell all that well, so they aren't as common. And if you buy these, they are often worth 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 of these. These hollows and round sets are very expensive, but they're really nice, and you can use them on the 45 to do complex things. The big problem with the soles for the 45 hollows and rounds is you have to have a sole for every cutter. And in that case, why not have a plane for every cutter? Because you're basically replacing the old wooden body just with a metal body. And there are lots of other cutters that the 45 just can't do. And we really want to be able to make the plane that can do these cutters. And thus was born the Stanley 55, the king of all hand planes, the one plane to rule them all. With all the knobs, buttons, and switches, the Stanley 55 can do it all. The 55 was advertised to be able to replace 55 different molding planes, and in reality, it could actually do far more than 55. They made hundreds of different cutters for it, and this could do them all. The problem was, it was very fiddly. There was a lot of setup on this. You can see every one of these knobs and buttons and screws and dials, and everything has to be adjusted and pieces put in and out. And it came with extra feet and extra depth adjusters and slitters and 2 fences, and there were so many different things that had to be adjusted for different cutters that it was kind of complicated, but it was really kind of, well, honestly beautiful. There are very few things that look just this crazy. I still find it kind of surprising, but the Stanley 55 actually sold relatively well. The nice thing is, rather than having an entire shelf of molding planes, you could carry this and a couple boxes of cutters. Yeah, it's going to take a little more time to set it up and practice and making sure everything is actually running for it, but in reality, it works. It really, really works. And so it's kind of a surprising thing to find out that a lot of people like this. Now, a lot of people didn't like it because it was complicated. I'd rather just have one plane that's set up with an iron and I go. And there is a nice simplicity to that. But if you're only using that one plane once every few months, why lug it around with you when you can just take this? And so there were a lot of big benefits to having one plane that could do it all. And that's why it's called a combination plane. But all of these planes are combination planes. Now, Stanley wasn't the only one to make a combination plane. Many other companies have made it. And most companies made a variation of the 45 or the 50, or they made both. Record made a combination of both. But no one else made one that was quite like the 55. And there were a few others that were similar, but not all of them covered all of the aspects and all of the extra things that the 55 can do. Even to this day, Veritas makes a combination plane, which is a really nice combination plane. And it's basically the 45. It can do everything the 45 can do. It has a few limitations in that it can't do some of those complex molding planes, but they've never gotten one that has all of the functionality of the 55 because it's a crazy plane. Now, let's get down to the real business. Let's talk about price. Now, if you're looking to get into it and all you need to do is make some plowing, maybe some beating, which is 99% of what you're going to be doing with any of these, the Stanley 50 really works phenomenally. This is a simple plane that functions and gets the job done. And you can buy these relatively affordably. And the nice thing is, with a slight modification to the handle, you can even use 45 and 55 cutters in it. Now, they do make Stanley 50 cutters that are shorter that don't run into the handle. But if you take a file and notch out that area, you can actually put in 45 and 55 cutters. Most of the cutters, you don't need all of them. I know a lot of people want to go out and buy the full set, but honestly, don't do that. Most are going to come with a 1/4-inch cutter because that's what was used probably 50 to 60% of the time. And if you need something else, go on eBay and you can pick them up for $5, $6, $8 a piece. If you go to an MWTCA meet, you're usually going to find a guy with a bucket, and he's selling them for $2 to $3 a piece because you just can't quite give them away. But if you do want a full set, most of the time the full set is worth more than the tool. So be prepared. Full sets are expensive, but that's because people like to collect things. Now, if the 50 just isn't quite enough and you want to have some more functionality, then the 45 really is the good standby. And that's the reason why this one sold more than anything else. It can do 99.9% of everything you need to do. It's relatively affordable and relatively easy to get. You can pick up the body with one cutter for around $45, sometimes $30. And often at MWTCA meets and the convention, you'll see these going for $20, $25, $30. They're relatively affordable and simple. Now, if you do get one with the cutters, you're probably going to be spending over $100. If you get one with the boxes, you're probably going to be spending over $150 to $200. And at that point, you might as well just go and buy a new one from Veritas, especially if you're in Canada. The price on these is incredibly affordable for what you get. And this will perform just as well as this, just slightly different aesthetic differences, and different people like different things for different reasons. But honestly, I really love the Veritas combination plane. It works out great, and they sell it at a very affordable price for what you get. But if you really want to go all in, and the 45 just isn't enough, and you want all the bells and whistles, then the 55. The 55 is what you want. You want the king of hand planes. You want the master of masters. You want the one, the only, the Stanley 55. Be prepared to pay for it. These are not cheap. If you get one with the body and most of the pieces in one cutter, you're probably going to be spending around $100, $120. If you want one with all the cutters, you're probably going to be up over $200. If you want one with the box and everything, you could be spending over $500. Now, all the prices I've been saying are for what I'd be expecting to pay in the Midwest. If you're on the West Coast, you're going to be spending more. If you're on eBay, you're going to be spending more. But if you really want to find them, go to handtoolfinder.com. I have a list of online sellers on there, and you'll be getting a better price there than you will be getting on eBay. And yeah, so don't shop on eBay for tools. There are far better places for it. But if you really want the best price, then going to a tool meet or tool convention, those are the places for it. And that's one of the reasons why I love the MWTCA. All of these, with the exception of this one, have been purchased at MWTCA meets. 60 to 80% of all the tools I own are MWTCA tool meets. It's just a fantastic place to buy tools. Now, this is a wide, broad overview of all of the combination planes, and I'm just kind of touching on a lot of this. I do have detailed videos on each of them, on the 55, on the 45, on the 50, as well as comparisons between them, and videos on how to set them up, and videos on how to sharpen the cutters, and I have detailed videos on all of those aspects, and I'll try and leave a few of those down in the description. So if you want to see more detailed information, I'll do that, but this has been a great overview of all of it, and I hope you have liked this. Now, I know this is going to leave a lot of questions, so yeah, let me know those. And for the questions you do have, throw them down in the comments down below. I will go through them and answer as many of them as I can get to. Honestly, questions, those really help out the channel. Thank you. Even if you just want to join those fantastic people who just put comment down below on every video, thank you. Helps us get in front of more people, helps the algorithm, and really every bit of engagement you can provide really helps us. But if you really want to go more, and you want to say, I love you, Wood by Wright, then think about joining one of these people over here. Those are the fantastic, wonderful, benevolent, and gorgeous people over on Patreon. Because without patrons or members, people who've clicked the thank you button, we wouldn't exist. We are sponsored by you. So if you like that and would like to help us keep going, then think about becoming a member or patron, or just hit thank you if a video you like. And that really means a lot. So I think that'll do it for now. And until next time, have a wonderful day. This video was looking at multiple different planes. So you could say this was a combination video.